Welcome to Attican Plays Railway Empire. All right, hi, and welcome to another Railway Empire video. We're continuing our look at the Coffee Barons, and this episode is going to be all about buying Roger. So you can see there we have to buy Roger Spice Company, we have to transport some chocolate and toys, and we have to buy Beatrix. And this is kind of a typical end to these scenarios where you have to go out and buy out your competitors. So to buy, the first thing here, let's look at our values. See that they're 29 and 26 for Beatrix and Roger, and we're about 55, almost 60. That's where you want to be. Well, we're 52, excuse me. You want to be somewhere around twice as big as your competitors coming into this stage. That kind of tells you you've done a pretty decent job. So we've done a decent job here because we have grown at about twice, almost, not quite, but almost twice the rate of our competitors. So we're in a good position to buy them, and they're not in a great position to buy us. Now, why is that? Because our company value drives our stock price per share up higher. Their lower value means relative to us, their price is more of a bargain. We've got more money to start with, so we can buy cheaper stock with more money. They're going to have to buy more expensive stock with less money, which means that we should be able to handle this. We should be able to buy these guys out without any too much trouble. It's never easy at the end. They always make sure that last one you have to buy is a pain, but we should be able to handle it. So what we're looking for here now, we've got to make toys and chocolate. Now we've got a pretty good chocolate business going, but the toys you have to have steel and wood to make the toys, and to have the steel you have to have coal and iron. Well, down around us, there's really nothing that is going to help us out. So we're just scouting the map, looking for iron ore. And it looks like the best places for it on this map are up there around Roger, lo and behold. So it kind of makes sense that we could maybe purchase our friend Roger and then worry about setting up a mining industry, to set up our steel, and then take that steel and move it somewhere where we can make toys and ship them off either to cities or to a warehouse or something, and be able to handle the toys. And the chocolate, as I said, we've got chocolate factories in our kind of our home base, so to speak, so we shouldn't have any trouble with that. And you can see there, this area up around Lima, Peru is tough. The mountains that's the big challenge in this part. That's a tough set of mountains. It kind of reminds me of going way back to the gold rush over in California, where you have to get over to Carson City with those big mountains. These are even worse. These are mountains all over the place. So that's going to be a challenge for us. So what we'd like to do is buy Roger, and then we won't liquidate. Normally, I just liquidate because I don't like to inherit other people's messes, but because that track is so expensive to lay, you got to build tunnels and bridges and everything else. Our plan is to buy Roger and not liquidate, so we're going to inherit his track and use that to help us keep going. So what I'm doing here actually is looking for an opportunity to bump up the revenue significantly. And we've got this nice money-making machine over here at Wright Farm making us $28,000 a week because we can ship the coffee we're producing to Curitiba and to Porto Alegre. And of course, they each require 3 coffee per week, so that's tremendous. That's six a week demand, and we're pumping out 5.5. So we can ship all the coffee we care to make to those 2 cities and make really good money. So we're looking for how else are we going to kind of boost our revenue. Now our revenue is fine. We could just honestly we could probably just sit here right now and just wait for the money to accumulate and buy Roger. But I want to come up with some ways to really kind of ramp up that revenue. So what I'm going to do here is put a warehouse in Sao Paulo. And the idea is that if we can create a warehouse where we can put coffee into that warehouse, we can bump up our production past that 5.5, without having to build 8,000 miles of track. We could run track all the way from our coffee plantation all the way up the coast to Porto Seguro and to Salvador, because they have demand for the coffee as well. But that's a long line. So an easier way to do it here is just to say, okay, well, let's build a warehouse that's going to exchange goods for us. And what we'll do then is run a line from our coffee over to that warehouse. And I decided to go ahead and expand that one because it's clumsy trying to put another small one in there. So we're going to run a line over to that warehouse, and that's going to create further demand for our coffee and allow us to ship it at a faster rate, so we can make even more profit off of our coffee plantation by expanding it and just basically producing more coffee. And then that's going to allow us also to set up that goods exchange so we can plug in other cities to this. Sao Paulo will consume some of the coffee. That's great. And then we can hook some other cities into that warehouse, and then whatever goods they're creating can come over here to Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo can send its goods back, and then all the cities can interchange goods at this warehouse. And the main purpose, though, of course, is that coffee. We want to, if you notice, I set all the other goods to 20 and set the coffee to 99, because I want as much coffee as can possibly go into that warehouse to go there, because it's a funny thing. You actually get paid in your industry for shipping it to a warehouse. And I'll show you how, after I thought about this for a minute, I want to show you a little, I forget the term people use for this. It's really a bit of a cheat. I'm going to set up a bit of a cheat here a little bit later on some more coffee and make a whole bunch of money. Well, you'll see. You'll see what's going on. So now we're finishing that line back to the Wright Farm, to our coffee plantation, and we'll set up trains running into the warehouse. And remember, and now we've got to finish it off so we open up the lanes. And if I was going to do this one again, I would not do that. I would make a dedicated line running in there and make them all dedicated lines. I'm back in my dedicated lines mode, as you know. So with point-to-point connections. But anyway, so here we go with setting up our warehouse. It's set up to receive 99 coffee. Now, I really wish you could take a warehouse and take all 6 slots and make them all coffee, or all one item, whatever it is. That to me, that would be a good thing. So we picked a lane to run into, and we're going to start moving coffee. and we've got that thing all the way up to level 5, so it's going to produce 8 coffee per week, which is more than our 2 cities can take down here, but that extra 2 can go to our other cities. And once we connect some people into it, we won't have any trouble having enough demand to match that supply, so we won't shut down on our shipping. By the way, this is something I think some of you may not get. If I set up this coffee, and let's say I wanted to max the profit and run everything into Curitiba, what happens is once Curitiba has all the coffee it needs at the moment and its warehouse is full, it will not take any more shipments. So your trains are going to sit there at your coffee plantation, and the coffee's not going anywhere. So unless it's going to a warehouse or something where it can be stored, your profits on your whatever it is, your coffee or whatever rural business is going to shut down. You're just not going to make any money. And so you've got to continually create demand for your supply in order to maximize your profits. Now, these conflicts you're seeing, they're coming from the auto assign of the staff. And a couple comments about that. I like the auto assign just because to me it's tedious to hire those people. I'm sure there are players much better than me who will sit there and analyze the characteristics and probably have charts that they use and say, okay, I've got a timid one here, and I've got a shy one here, and I've got an aggressive one here, and whatever, and they know the combinations they're looking for, and they probably sit there and just crawl, set the speed down to a crawl and work through all that. And I just don't. It's just it's to me that's more like work than play. But if you do that, God love you, because that means you're a diligent, good player. So I certainly can't knock you for being a good player. That's nothing wrong with that. So, but I just no thank you for me. No thanks. So. Now, as I said, this is going to be a goods exchange. So we're going to exchange goods between some of the cities that we hook into this network. So what we want to do, now we're not going to get a lot of traffic here because remember we've got automatic city-to-city lines. And now I'm thinking about it. One of the things that, I wanted to say, we could take those city lines and turn them into passenger mail only, which would be kind of good because maybe we get some express lines out of it and make some more money. But you can't. You'd have to set up a couple of warehouses in order to get everything you want, because you certainly don't want to stop your beer meat. You stop your beer meat and all your cities are going to stop growing, and suddenly your lines aren't going to be making nearly as much money. And remember, we don't make as much money on passenger and income with this particular character, with Don Lorenzo, the new version of him. So I didn't want to go there. We've only got those 6 goods, but there's not enough room, of course, with the coffee in there. There's not enough room to put beer and meat, or chicha and meat. And so, I decided to leave those city to city the way they were, which is way they should be, frankly, and go this way. Now we're going to set up a line that comes off of this kind of main north-south line and allows us to hook up Uberaba into the warehouse and let it exchange goods with the warehouse. So what we'll do is just run a train back and forth between Uberaba and the warehouse, and in Uberaba it'll pick up whatever is being created there that the warehouse can use, that it has excess of, like the furniture, for example. That steel is worthless, and we could go in and fix that and put something in there. But the furniture is a potential to go up there, and it may just run empty to start with. And then it can grab coffee or whatever and take it back to Uberaba. So, but the whole point of this is to create more demand for the coffee so that the coffee can be bumped up to a level 5 and make us even more money. That means this whole exercise is all about maximizing the profit we're getting from that coffee plantation. And you can see there we're making just under $40,000 per week. That's a couple of $1 million a year in profit. That's not cost, that's profit per week. And you can see also we bought that thing early, and look at our total profits over $4 million. So we have made 10 times our original purchase price on that coffee. So was it a good investment? Yes, it was. And really, you can do that with practically any industry here, city industry or rural industry. You really just have to look at it as what fits with the scenario I'm playing. And for me personally, if I'm not playing a scenario, I'm not playing this game. I don't just play to say, oh, I've got cities of 300,000 and I'm making $18 million a quarter or whatever. That kind of stuff bores the tears out of me. But having a challenge is fun, and having those objectives. And the objectives cause you to do different things, and that's why I really like them. They force you to be different. So now we're looking at Roger and seeing we need almost $50 million to buy our buddy. We got 16 going here, and we can open bonds for 5 and 6, probably 11. So 21, we're probably around 27 million cash that we could raise right this minute, which is pretty good. And so that would buy maybe half of Roger. And maybe we could go ahead and buy half, but we're going to keep pumping, try to see if we can keep pumping that money up. Now, you can see I've got a lot of cash here. And if you remember, every time you watch me play, I'm always building something and waiting for some more money, building something, waiting for some more money, building something. The reason is, as I've said many times, you've got to keep moving moving that ball forward. You've got to keep spending your money. Do not sit on your money. Spend your money. But now we're making so much money, I just literally cannot spend it that fast. Because every time I let it keep running, it's just making more money faster than I can spend it. And I'm also an impatient player. One of my great faults. I won't put it down on a slow speed very often and take my time and just build some more stuff. I mean, I could be so much better player if I would slow down, but it's just not my nature. So, got to accept my flaws and move on. I'll work on it. I'll try to be better. But we're looking at opportunities to bump some of these guys up and get more out of them. And just looking for any way that we can pump up our economy right now and just kind of supercharge it. Because you can see in our warehouse, we're getting the coffee, but we're not getting much else. And really what's happening is, that doesn't mean things aren't being shipped there. Like if furniture comes to Sao Paulo, it's probably being gobbled up by Sao Paulo right away. Nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But so here I'm going to do something really kludgy. Okay, here we go. We're going to buy a coffee plantation out in the middle of nowhere. And we know that coffee plantation can make us couple $1 million a year in profit if we can find a way to move the goods somewhere, right? So all we have to do is have them created and put them on a train and move them somewhere. So what are we going to do? We're going to put a warehouse out here in the middle of nowhere. And we're going to have a line that just runs back and forth to that warehouse. So we're going to have these trains run and have them just make that short haul. And by the way, you do have to move it far enough away so that you're actually moving the coffee. You can't just put a warehouse next to the coffee and think that that's going to do it, because the train has to come by and move it for you to make money on it in your industry. But watch this. Once we set this up to accept Max Coffee, it's just going to start pumping that coffee. into that warehouse. And we're going to start making more and more money, which is just ridiculous because we're making all this money for moving stuff nowhere and selling it to no one. You know, it's just, I think that's something they might want to look at fixing. So we got up to level 5. It isn't quite hitting our full 40 grand because we can't ship it fast enough. So we're going to fix that. We're going to expand the station, make it a large station, and have 4 lines that run back and forth with 4 trains. And they're just going to haul coffee as fast as they can over to that warehouse. And we're just going to make money like it's going out of style, which is, you know, not sure I'm in love with this bit of the mechanics of the game. And I'm not even sure I'm proud of myself for showing this to you, but here it is. So here's a way to really pump up some money when you have a high demand item like coffee. So we're going to set up a line that runs between each of those tracks and runs full over to our warehouse. And that way we will have, we'll be able to keep up with the supply that our plantation is creating. And I thought I'd fix that one. Maybe I must have goofed that one up. I remember thinking that was odd that it was showing 0 use on 2, but I think I missed a confirmation somewhere. So there's 2 of the lines. So we're going to set up 4 lines and let them run back and forth. And this is where I say, boy, it'd be nice if I could set that warehouse to accept coffee in all 6 of its slots. So there we go. Now we've got 4 trains running that little haul over to that warehouse, and look at the profit. We're making 40 grand. We're making about 2 million, over 2 million a year in profit from that little line right there. Now I think that this is tied, I'll have to do some research on this, but I think it's tied to the overall demand across the map. If we didn't have enough of demand, then I don't think they would let us get away with just dumping stuff in a warehouse and making that kind of money on it. So, you know, in a sense, we're selling it to the warehouse for it to be later delivered somewhere else. But the part of the game mechanic that's a little odd is that, you know, you're not selling it to anybody. There's nobody to buy it. So now we're going to buy half of Roger. We got that going. We got our money kind of cranked up. So we're going to buy half of Rogers. He's not cheap. Half of him's over $20 million. So there we go. Now we own half of Rogers Company. Now we'll work on the other half. Now you see it cost us $48,000 to dump all that coffee. Now we just go set it up again. The trains take off again, and we're making 48. You know, we're making that. It cost us about a week's worth of profit to dump the coffee, but obviously we're running for more than a week here, so we're making a net strong profit on this deal, and again, shouldn't be, but enough of that. I'll shut up about that. So there it is. There's a cute little. It's perfectly legal, but kind of cheat. that you're using to kind of manipulate the system and make a lot of money. Now, one downside of this is you have to keep watching this and have to keep dumping the resources. The other thing that could be done here, of course, is you could set up another warehouse and have this warehouse go, load somewhere else, or you could load to a city like we're doing with the coffee over in Sao Paulo. You could load to a city and have multiple cities come into that. That would probably be a better thing. This is just to illustrate that. You can get away with this. You can make all the profit in the world on this. See, this thing is already easily, doubled its original purchase price for us. And even if we throw in the cost of the, 400, let's call it $500,000 for the warehouse and the line track and the large station, one more cycle and this thing's making pure profit after that. All right, I quit. All right, so it's about time to end Roger's little run here and get this task done. So we're going to take a look at what's it going to cost to buy him out once we get these the staff straightened out. What's it going to cost to buy him out and get this done? We've got over pushing up towards $7 million in cash right now. We know we bought half of him for 20 some, so it's going to cost us similar amount to finish him off. Here we still got our little. I said I wasn't going to talk about that. And so we're going to go take a look at Roger, and it's going to cost us $21 million to buy him out. Well, to buy 47% of the shares. So as you can see, Beatrix owns 3% of the shares. So we've got enough money now. We've got open credit. We're going to issue a couple of big bonds. Now we've got our $21 million. We're going to buy everything we can of Roger, which is 47% of the shares. And now we see that there's 1% still available to buy, and we're going to have to pay a bonus to Beatrix because she owns a little bit of Roger's company, and we can't buy her shares from her, but we can pay her a bonus. I think it's 50% on top of the price that she makes in profit. But that will allow us to finish off Roger. So what we're going to do here is go back in again and buy shares. The shares kind of get recalculated when you do this, but now we've got him, and we're going to merge. And the main thing is we could get $12 million for him, but we're going to say, okay, it's worth $12, $13 million to have that infrastructure up there in that tough land around Lima, because that's where the ore and the coal are. And we want to go up there and start building our steel industry, and we'll take care of the steel and the toys and the chocolate and Beatrix in our next episode. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Railway Empire video. Thank you.